Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Mandeville. I'm the Executive Director of the Lamoille Economic Development Corporation. The LEDC is one of 12 regional development corporations in the state, and I have direct responsibility for Lamoille County. That's quite the most basic. What I do is lend all the support I can in various ways to job creation and job retention within Lamoille County. We have a partnership with the Vermont Small Business Development Center. The area business advisor for Lamoille County and Washington County is Charlie Inninger, the young man back here that will check you in. Charlie offers a full range of consulting activities for businesses in the area. He can help you with business plans, he can help with marketing, he can help with all sorts of issues on a very more hands-on basis than I do. And he works right out of my office in Morrisville. For those of you who have a particular interest in anything to do with the food and beverage business, Charlie happens to be a particular expert in that area. And I would encourage you to seek out his assistance if you need it. We do, as I said, the LEDC does a whole lot of things. Among them are these workshops that we do 8 times a year. We call it the Business Skills Workshop Series. They are limited topics like the one today. They're 3 hours long, and we have found that they have gained such a reputation around not just Lamoille, but around northern Vermont, that we do get quite a number of people coming from outside Lamoille. Many of you today are not from Lamoille County. So welcome. I think you will learn a lot today. I also want to encourage you to come to future workshops. Now that you have come to this one, you will be getting email notifications about future workshops. And of course, we do advertise these in the newspaper and other places as well. The one coming up next month in March is going to be an HR-related workshop called How to Hire Right the First Time, which is the second time we've done it. It's an excellent workshop. The presenter really knows her stuff. We have another one coming up in April, but also in April we are doing the second annual Lamoille Business Assistance and Finance Forum. We did this in April last year. We have representatives from 12 different agencies who will be coming to that workshop to explain the services that they have available for businesses in Lamoille County, whether it's financing, whether it's all sorts of other help. That workshop is free. It'll be on April 7th, and you will be getting notification about that one as well. And I encourage you to seriously consider coming to that shop if your business is looking for assistance of any kind, either for expansion or to go somewhere else, build a new building somewhere, what have you. There's all sorts of things that are going to be part of that workshop. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to Patrick Ripley, who's today's facilitator, and I'll let him tell you about himself.
Okay, great.
Just a couple of housekeeping things. There's drinking fountains in the corner. There is a machine if you want bottled water of any kind. The restrooms are also in the corner over there. There's muffins, donuts, coffee there. And if you, we will be taking a break about 10:30, excuse me, for about 10-15 minutes. Enjoy.
Thanks, John. So just to recap why we're here today, we'll start talking about some mobile marketing trends. We'll spend a lot of time talking about that to start, and then we'll get into some more emerging stuff. So if you start to feel like at the beginning that maybe it seems a little simplistic to you, don't worry, because it won't by the end. So as John said, I'm Pat Ripley. These are my Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn handles, just to tell you a little bit about me so you know who's standing in front of you. I got into mobile marketing and digital media in the late 90s, roughly, working for newspapers and entertainment publications during the whole internet kind of boom, I guess you could say, when all the print media was starting to freak out because they thought there was going to be no more print media, so it was kind of a trial by fire. Eventually worked into some monthly publications and eventually worked into some television and ran some media campaigns for a series of Hearst television stations. So that's generally my background for the last 5 years or so. I've worked for the Small Business Development Center as our digital marketing, or digital advisor, I guess you could say. And I work with businesses both individually and in a group setting like today on anything that can pass through the internet. So if it's business efficiency or business marketing, website building, social media, stuff like that, we can talk about it and hopefully get somewhere to get your business to a better place. And also, just to understand, I'm also available for one-on-one advising, similar to what Charlie is and our regional advisors. And if something strikes you or something doesn't make sense or whatever, you have the ability to follow up, and I'll leave some business cards around, or you can come up and get one, and I'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one meeting with you. And that's all free of charge and that sort of thing. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that in the future. And I'll try to keep us on schedule as much as possible. So we're not a huge group, and I like to kind of concentrate on things that you want to concentrate on. So if I say something that doesn't make sense, or if there's something that strikes you, feel free to kind of give me the look or pop a hand up, and we'll concentrate on that. I'd rather talk about things you want to talk about and not get through everything that I have on here than jam all this stuff on you when you're not necessarily interested or if you're confused. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of judge by the looks on your faces and move quicker or slower, when you seem puzzled or excited. So I'm happy if you tell me rather than me judging by the looks on your face. So in the first half of today, quickly, our mission is I like to spell things out and tell people exactly what to expect. But I'm going to start by explaining to you what mobile marketing is, because it's a little different than some of the other types of marketing you've probably encountered in the past. So I'm going to give you a good explanation of how it works and what it is. And then I'm going to give you some strategy concepts, and hopefully that will lead to success and hopefully more money. How many of you guys are small business owners or would be small business owners? About half of us? Okay. This applies to nonprofit stuff as well. Strategies are generally the same. So I'll start talking about emerging trends in digital marketing, where things are going. I'm going to show you a video next that's interesting. It'll kind of start with what's happened, and then it'll sort of make some thoughts about the future and where things are going. We're going to explain how it works, because it is a different platform than, say, taking out a newspaper advertisement. So it's good to understand what's happening behind the scenes, so you understand why you have to go through the activities you have to and spend the money that you have to make it happen. Hopefully, since you're here, you'll know that it's time to get involved, so we won't spend too much time on that. And then we'll get into probably the reason why you're really here, which is the toolkit. Okay, what do we do? What can we do when we leave here today to start using this stuff? And it's going to be things like SMS messaging, which is a fancy way to say texting. Google Places, which is no longer Places, it's now just Google+. Apps, QR codes, all that fancy stuff. And I'm going to give you some clear first steps forward. If you've already done those first steps, then great. We're going to get into some secondary and tertiary activity. But if you haven't done anything, you're going to have a clear path about where to go from today till tomorrow. And if we have time at the end, we'll do Q&A. But hopefully we'll do that kind of throughout and during. So like I said, don't be afraid to pipe up. And hopefully our sound will work right now. I'm going to show you a video. It's a little long-ish, but I think it's a good video to watch.
You can only create what you can imagine. In the year 2020, mobile media communication has radically transformed the economy and our daily living unimaginable in an earlier age. Everyone has access to information on his mobile devices and contributes to the community. However, the media as you know it has exceeded to exist. Mobile has turned the world into a global information hub and has opened radical new business opportunity. The 21st century has unclosed the power of the information age, looking back to a not-so-distant past. The road to mobile media revolution started at the beginning of the 20th century. 1906, the first US patent for a wireless phone was registered. 1973, the first mobile phone call was placed in New York City. 1979, the first commercial mobile phones were presented in Tokyo. 1982, Nokia introduced its first portable phone. 1991, the first GSM network opened in Finland. In 1998, the first mobile content, a ringtone, was sold. In 1999, the BlackBerry was introduced, starting the era of mobile email. 2001, the third generation of mobile phones was launched in Japan. 2007, we reached over 3 billion mobile phone subscribers. The introduction of the iPhone was the start of the touch device era. 2008, over 1 billion people have access to the internet, while 600 million people have access to the web through their mobile handset. 2009, the social network Facebook welcomed its 200 millionth user.
There's over a billion now on
Mass phenomenon. We reached over 4 billion mobile phone subscribers. 2010, the offline and online worlds are getting closer. Mixed reality is enriching the mobile experience. 2011, built-in
So
sensors
mixed
like
reality is when
GPS,
you're actually in a
feature
place
units,
and you're using your phone to interact with the internet while you're in a physical location.
the sense economy. 2012, we reached the barrier of 1 trillion network devices. Machine-to-machine communication, smart objects, ubiquitous computing create the Internet of Things. 2013 is the year of mobile broadband. LTE is offering up to 50 megabytes of network capacity for each user.
Not in
People
remote,
are
though.
in the smart cloud. 2014, India, Africa, and other emerging markets have reached 70% penetration rates. 2015, mobile payment is becoming a mass phenomenon driven by near-field communication.
So that's where we're at today,
Into
paying
our
with your
lifestyles
phone.
and
Everybody's using a little
the
swipe
start
card to their
of a
business.
physical personal device. Nanotechnologies enable physical transformation according to their use and complete personalization in the process. 2016, the New York Times stops the delivery of printed newspapers and
obviously we don't know this part is
just for
gonna happen.
$1. News Corporation, Burda, Springer, and other publishing companies follow in 2017. Everyone reads the news on plastic paper and updates it on the go. 2017 is the climax of the mobile economy boom. The market of mobile media is bigger than all the other media channels together. This year, the introduction of multi-language with instant translation is bringing down the global information barriers for text and voice communication. 2018, the US government starts an initiative to increase mobile public security, the mobile agenda. The location of mobile data streams of each person will be tracked, analyzed, and saved. We reach more than 8 billion people
So it's a big
worldwide.
thing now,
5 billion
having our
have a
phones in
mobile
our
phone.
pockets, where we
2.5
physically
billion
are,
including mobile
people are
internet
able to
access.
know where we are,
A generation of digital natives.
which is interesting for marketing purposes.
2019, privacy, information access and control have become essential issues in the world's economy. Cybersecurity has become one of the most critical issues. In the year 2020, our world of mobile media is disruptive, engaging, interactive and controversial, but truly international. It is up to you how our future will look like. Don't lean back. Be active and shape the environment of the future of mobile media and communication.
Okay, so from there, you know, some of that may seem a little science fiction-y, and I think some of it probably is near the, you know, in the projections, anyways. But the things that happened before today were all reality. So I don't want to speak too much about the projections, but while some of it can seem a little far-fetched and out there, it's not complete science fiction. And I'm just going to show you some numbers that I'm going to go through quickly because there is strong data that shows how important mobile is becoming. So there's about 316 million people in the world, and 90% of them have phones. Does everybody in here have a phone of some kind? I'm guessing, yeah, you know, nod or whatever. I'm guessing you all do. If there's one person that doesn't, then it would make sense for the 90%. But we're all carrying these in our pockets today. So that's step one to understand. To give you a brief timeline, I'm going to move through these quickly, but just to show you how rapid the growth has been. In 2010, smartphone usage doubled. So when I say smartphone, I mean a phone that accesses the internet, not just a telephone that you carry in your pocket. And at that time, they represented roughly 13% of handheld devices. So only about 13% of people had smartphones. But they generated 70% of all mobile traffic. There was also about 3 million tablets. Tablets are also considered mobile devices. When I say tablets, I mean iPads, Kindles, things like that, that can access the internet. 2011, global traffic doubled again within a year. At this time, 42% of US subscribers had smartphones. So within a year, we went from 13% to 42%. Tablets rose by 34 million. Again, big numbers we're talking about within 1 year. If your business was growing like this, you'd be pretty darn happy. 2012, 1 year later, we're at 113 million, and so on and so forth. I think you can see these numbers and understand what I'm getting at here. We're talking big growth, we're talking fast growth. This is where it's at. So this is the most, this is the newest data that I can find regarding global mobile internet use. So we're looking at roughly almost 8 billion people in the world, and growing. Approximately 52% of them are urban, 48% of them are rural. So this whole, rural, the country is different than the city. Well, half the world roughly is the country. So understand that in Vermont. You're not, that different really. Total world internet penetration is only roughly 2.5 billion, which is kind of scary, but we got to understand there's some other countries in the world that don't have access to things we have. Social networking, again, has become huge. We'll talk a lot about that probably later this afternoon, but that's about 2 billion. And mobile subscribers, now look at this. It's the biggest number in comparison to the total world population, 6.5 billion to 8. All these other numbers that you hear all this stuff about, internet and everything like that, the biggest number is mobile penetration worldwide. And it's going to continue to be that way more and more so. So if you're thinking about anything with your business and your marketing, mobile's where it's at right now. It has the largest market penetration. Now the other thing to understand is last year, roughly about halfway through, total internet use on a mobile device exceeded desktop use last year. So it's happened. The last 2 years I've been telling people, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Well, now it's happened. So these are now used more than these things right here. So obviously I'm just trying to show you that this stuff's important. Yeah.
Just may want to make a point of emphasis on that. As we watched our business grow, our mobile interaction with our site has grown like this, but our revenue stream is still predominantly through desktop. So when you're doing this, make sure that you don't neglect one for the other, because you need to know where your money's coming from today.
Yeah, and you're about 2 hours in front of me right now. So he's absolutely right. More people are still buying on the desktop than they are on the phone. But I would argue that that's going to change. So if we can get in front of that and be ready, then we're going to benefit from it when people's behavior begins to change. Yeah.
In the previous screen, the bottom number, the mobile devices, was that just smartphones or was that tablets also?
No, that would be smartphones, tablets, and non-smartphones. So we're going to talk about how you can market using a smartphone and a tablet, a mobile device, but we're also going to talk about how you can market using a dumb phone or a non-smartphone or whatever you want to call it. A phone that doesn't access the internet. Although, I would argue that moving forward, the trend is that more and more smartphones are coming into the market and becoming a bigger portion of of things. So, the interesting thing is that mobile users tend to be called what I call super users. They tend to be more active, more interactive, which is really important, particularly in social media. And they tend to be people who are more apt to purchase online as well, whether it be at a desktop or on a smartphone. Right now, customers are mostly using their smartphones to research before purchase, but that's important too. So I call them heroes, super users, call them what you will, but we want to connect with these people, not the people who check their email once a week. Not that they're not important, but this isn't the media to reach those people. They also tend to have a little more spending capacity as well. So this is my caveat about don't do this. Before we get into all this stuff that we're gonna do, let's make a couple notes about what we're not gonna do. We're not going to expect to be able to do one thing, like send an email and have it work. We're going to, so it's not a self-sustaining activity. It's not flick the switch and things happen. It's a lot of work. It typically involves some investment. This isn't like the old days of social media where you could just work and not spend money. It will involve some inbound and outbound marketing, which I'll get into a little more detail about, but it should also be married to your social media, your overall online presence, your email marketing. All of these things should interact with each other. So if you're not going to work them all together, or you're going to take it like a silo approach where you do one thing and then one other thing, you're going to be less effective. It's also not a chance to bombard users with unwanted advances. Like I think of mobile marketing and marketing in general as a relationship with your customers. Nobody certainly wants unwanted advances in any relationship. So, also known as spam, or if you send too many text messages, or unsolicited text messages, that sort of thing. It's also not something that can be ignored, similar to a relationship. Be there and commit, or risk your future, is the way I look at it. So, be honest with yourself. Am I going to do this? If I'm going to do it, then do it right. If you're not going to do it, then that's fine too. I'm not saying you have to do this, but don't do this halfway because you're just wasting your time and your money. Okay, so I'm starting at a real base level here, but we have different people in the room, and I think it's important to understand exactly what's happening. So, mobile marketing is a way to communicate and engage your audience with relevant content through a mobile device or network. So it's important to understand that you're not speaking directly to your customers or your audience. You first have to speak to a device, and this will make more sense as I get into the details. But from a real base level, you're the business. First you speak to the device, and the device speaks to the customer. And then the customer speaks back to the business, hopefully. Hopefully that's what happens. That may seem stupid, but there's a reason why I'm kind of breaking it down like this, because it is important that you realize that you're speaking to a device first and not a person. So, to get a little more detail on that, so how many of us have a mobile phone in here? I know nobody wanted to say so. Everybody's got a mobile phone, great. So keep your hand up if it's a smartphone, like you have internet access. So everybody has internet access, that's great. Okay, so keep it up if it's Android. Got a good amount of Androids. So iPhone, I'm an iPhone, about half, yep. BlackBerry, any BlackBerry? No. I wouldn't admit it either. Anybody got something different? Like just a random, like a Nokia or no Nokia? So you guys are all